Welcome to a very special video here on Keto and Crime. You know who I am. I don't need to introduce myself, but I wanted to welcome Michelle from Force of Light Entertainment. She has her and her sister have a great entertainment channel. I'll post all that information down below. They review TV shows, movies. They talk about a lot of great stuff, and I was just honored to have her come on. And we're going to talk about Scream, the Scream franchise. I know y'all seen me talk about it with Mike Harlow and other places on the internet, but it's always nice to get other people's. So, Michelle, if you would introduce yourself and tell us about your channel.
Yes, I am Michelle. I am one half of Force of Light Entertainment. My co-host is my sister, Natalie, who's not with me today. As she said, we do reactions. We do reviews to movies, TV shows. We do reactions. We've really gone into first time watching reactions where we pick a movie either both of us haven't seen or one or the other hasn't seen, and we record ourselves watching it. And we have fun doing it, and people seem to enjoy it. And then we also do like trailer reactions, and then we do live streams where we discuss kind of more the hot topic stories of the week and some of the dumb stuff they do in Hollywood these days.
Absolutely. Hollywood is definitely a good adjective to describe it. I don't understand half the stuff that goes on, especially with all the reboots, and some things don't need to be rebooted.
Oh my gosh, speaking of reboots,
the original was good.
Exactly. I just saw today, speaking of reboots, remakes, they are doing I think it's a reboot of the Twilight, and they're doing it in a TV version, like stretched out over like a season or two.
Why? Those movies are not maybe 10 years old?
I mean, exactly. I saw that, and I would have asked why in general. I just saw like a few like scenes from a Twilight movie, and that was enough for me. But yeah, that movie, yeah, it's like less than right around 10 years old maybe, and we're already rebooting it. So great.
I don't get it. I mean, some things cool.
Yeah.
But other things like, well, one thing that was most disturbing for me, I'm a huge X-Files fan. I'm actually rewatching the entire series right now with my mother-in-law, who's never seen it, and I'm sitting there with her, seeing her reaction, even though I've seen them all 100 times. But and I'm going to do a huge review, synopsis, love letter to the X-Files on my channel. It's like one of my favorite things. But I heard that Chris Carter has sold the rights to it to the director of Black Panther, and he's going to do a reboot, and I am scared.
Yes, Ryan Coogler. Yes, and you have right to be scared, because when they put in the headline, like the main thing, their selling point is diverse casting, you're like, I'm sure there's going to be great writing.
I know. I'm sitting out. Okay. X-Files was a product of the 90s. It's a time capsule.
Yeah.
But if I look back on it, I mean, rewatching it, because I'm in the middle of that, there's a lot of diversity in the X-Files. Yeah. I mean, the core cast doesn't change much, but there's a lot of diversity in the X-Files. And what scares me is lots of time when they talk about diversity, it's about appearance, it's about race, it's about sexuality, it's about sexual gender identity. It's not about thought. No. You can have people, persons that look so different, but they all think the same way, talk the same way, believe the same way. And then you have other people that may look very similar, but there's a very diverse system of thinking there. To me, that's true diversity. And that's what really gets on my nerves.
Yes. Yeah. I have yet to see. It's funny you say the X-Files, because that's been one of those random shows in my mind. I've never seen the X-Files, and it's been one of those shows I'm like, would I enjoy going back to the beginning of that and watching it? I think I probably would. Yes. And back to what you were saying on that. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, the world has changed. America's changed since the 1990s. There's nothing wrong with diversity. It's just when that's like the way they lead. It's like when they say movie has strong female character. Like typically 9 times out of 10, when that's how they market the movie, it's going to suck. because that's what everything's been
Yeah.
put into, and they don't care about a good story.
Yeah. And for them to say that, X-Files was the epitome of a strong female character. Scully, there's like actual academic studies of how many women went into STEM and law enforcement because of Scully. That her portrayal on television. It's called the Scully effect. Google it. It's a thing. It's a strong female lead. And then there's lots of other diversity in it as well. I mean, one thing, the theme of the X-Files, which you'd probably appreciate, is mistrust of the government. That's the overarching theme.
Again, there's a reason why I thought, should I watch the show? I would definitely appreciate that theme.
Yeah. I mean, there's aliens and supernatural in there, but it's definitely what's the government not telling us?
Yeah, that sounds like my cup of tea. For sure.
But yeah. But Scream got a well, I call Scream's reboot. It's kind of half reboot, half requel.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Like that's what they call it, a
Scream
requel.
5.
Yeah.
Right. But they do, at least Scream, they did treat most of the legacy characters with some respect, and we'll get into that. So I know you just started watching Scream like back in October of last year. So tell me, what was your thoughts going into seeing it for the very first time? What did you hear? Did it meet your expectations, or were you just kind of like, meh?
So when Scream came out, I was like, let's see, I would have been like 6 years old, I think. And growing up, I was like, my sister was not. You'll like this because I know you like horror and stuff. I was a massive chicken. Like everything scared me. Everything. And I remember the previews would come on for Scream, and I would see Ghostface as a 6-year-old girl, and I was like, done. I was horrified by Ghostface as a 6-year-old kid. And I mean, he is scary to a 6-year-old. And so the years went by, and I think because I was such a chicken as a kid, in my mind, I didn't appreciate any horror. So it's really been a more recent phenomenon in my life that I've branched out and watched slasher films and some more horror type movies. And I've learned I actually appreciate a decent amount of them. I've realized I don't like when horror goes into when they go for just disturbing. That's when they lose me, and I'm like, nah, I'm out.
Right.
I've come to find out there is quite a bit in the horror genre that I enjoy and find quite fun, actually. So basically, I just not watched any horror through most of my life, and we were doing those reactions, and we thought for October we would do several first-time watching reactions of famous horror movies. And we did. We started actually because we are. They can't see it, but I'm a huge Stranger Things fan. Both of us are. My sister and I both. And have you watched Stranger Things?
I'm gonna confess, Stranger Things is not something I've ever delved into. Is it one that I would appreciate and I should go and watch from beginning to end?
Okay, so do you like? We like X-Files, so you like government conspiracy type stuff. Do you like, and you like horror, but Stranger Things is, you're not going to find it scary. It's like real soft horror here. It balances horror and humor quite well, actually. But did you like 80s movies, like Goonies, Star Wars, things like that?
Oh God, yes. Brat Pack movies.
Then go watch Stranger Things.
Yeah. Anything that was, like anything that the two Coreys were in, all the Brat Pack movies, any of those. Absolutely. The 80s, I grew up in the 80s. I was a kid, an actual child in the 80s. So that's when I grew up. So that era is very dear to me. So yes.
Okay, then I think you'll love Stranger Things because it is literally that they did the 80s so well. It's like a character in the show. Like you will feel like you went back in time to the 80s, and you can see like the Duffer Brothers that created it, the impact of things like E.T., the Goonies, Star Wars. In this last season, Nightmare on Elm Street was so heavily in this season.
That is like the pinnacle of I love Scream, but Nightmare Nightmare on Elm Street is my signature horror franchise.
Okay.
The way you felt about Ghostface, that's how I felt about Freddy Krueger. I saw Freddy Krueger accidentally. They had the original Nightmare on TV, on cable, and I watched it, even though I wasn't supposed to, and I was scarred for life, but it was a good kind of scar. There's a scene in one of them where somebody is looking into a mirror and there's steam because the shower's on, and then Freddy appears in the mirror behind them.
Yes.
Out of the steam. And I still, anytime I'm in the bathroom and the mirror fogs up, I'm like,
you're like, Freddy. Yes. Yes. Okay. So definitely when you get time, Stranger Things, watch it. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. The first season was absolutely fantastic. I still really enjoy seasons 2 and 3 because they catch that 80s American nostalgia feel that I love. But season 4, most people like season 1 and 4 the best because season 4, you will see. I mean, they literally have the guy who played Freddy Krueger be in it. I mean, they're very
Robert
aware.
Englund's in it. Neat.
Yes. They're very aware, like they do that on purpose. Like Sean Astin is in season 2. They bring those in there, like they're not just copying. It's really a homage to these things and they're very aware of it. But I say that to say, Stranger Things season 4 was the big hit of last summer, and because I knew that was what had inspired it so much, we watched Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time. Let's see, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. And let's see, Halloween, the original Halloween, and then Scream is what we watched. And I enjoyed all of them for the most part.
How'd you feel about Freddy Krueger? Is he scarier than Ghostface, or is it just kind of...
Do you know, because I'm watching as an adult, Ghostface is scarier to me because my biggest fear in life is home evasion. And you just add on top of that, like a mass person, and that can really happen. You know, Freddy Krueger, I'm not really that concerned of him popping up in my life. A mass lunatic could happen.
Okay, now if home invasion scares you, what's your own risk? But The Strangers and The Strangers Prey at Night, if home invasion is like your biggest fear, I either would recommend if you really want to face that fear, or would not recommend those 2 movies. But I'll put those movies in your brain.
You're like, you may not sleep for months.
You probably won't sleep for months, but they are very well done home invasion movies, as well as Don't Speak. There's some others. I could give you a whole list of good home invasion movies, but I don't want to frighten you.
Do you know what messed with my sleep more than anything I've watched in recent years?
What?
I watched when Netflix put out those the Ted Bundy tapes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how could you not be fascinated by that series? I was glued to the thing.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, good Lord, that he breaks all. I mean, he's in their bedroom. They wake up and he's there. I mean, it's like that. I really did not sleep well for a few weeks after that. But anyways, I've sidetracked. So we can get back to Scream. I don't know if I got to your original question.
No, I just want to know, did it meet your expectations? Did you like it? Were you surprised by anything?
I don't think I had high expectations, but and I know you're going to be like, really? Because I know you're not a Scream fan. I so enjoyed it. I was like, what a fun movie. And maybe some of it is because I was a 90s kid. So I got to go back to 1995 or 6, probably 95 when they made it. It came out in 96. So I think some of it was the nostalgia and everything about it. And I just thought Scream, especially after having watched the others, it was like a real unique take on a slasher movie. Like it doesn't take itself very seriously, but at times does have genuine horror in it. And I just thought it was a lot of fun is the word I would use as far as the movie.
Yeah, that's the reason I like the Scream franchise so much, is that it is...
oh, you do like it? I thought you did like it.
I was being sarcastic when I told you I hated it, because I put it in quotes. But,
got you. Okay.
But it knows what it is. It's a parody.
Yes.
A reboot, and it also kind of redefined a whole generation. I mean, Wes Craven the creator of Scream also created Nightmare on Elm Street, and he makes fun of himself within Scream about Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's just there's so many parallels. For example, they had the janitor in Scream was dressed just like Freddy Krueger. Tatum makes the comment that oh, he create something about the Nightmare on Elm Street movie. She said, yeah, they all sucked after number 1, or it was just so.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. I know I'm with a fellow. I guess.
Oh yeah.
I discovered that. I guess that you're called a screamer if you're a fan. If you're like in the fandom of Scream, is what I've been told. Because I've recently become a screamer. So yeah. So I really enjoyed the first movie. And then didn't really think about it much, but in the back of my mind, well, we'll go to 2 and move on to the next one. And then knowing that 6 was coming out, I was like, well, let's do 2. And then I watched 2, and I so thoroughly loved 2. Like, I had so much fun with that movie that then I wanted to watch the other ones like back to back to back, because like I just was having fun at that point.
Scream 2 for the longest time occupied like the top spot for me. To me, it was even better than Scream 1. I've kind of changed my mind over the years, but for the longest time, it was my number 1. I think because I worked for Regal Cinemas while that was out. I was a projectionist. It was one of the first movies I ever put together when you had to put together like film reels. Yeah. And I saw it like 12 times in the theater. And
I like it. I like it.
And Dimension Films never picked up the reels after we took them apart after it left theaters, and I have those reels to this day. So I have like an actual copy of Scream 2 that you could put on a projector and watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Scream 2, it's like it got even a little sillier, but yet they still had some real intense scenes with it, and it was just a lot of. And I think what I loved about Scream 2 is, though I really liked Gail in Scream, I feel like in Scream 2, well, one, she's like even sexier, and they just put her in like timeless outfits that I really appreciated. But it's just like Gail's just a fantastic female character.
She is.
Like, no one could have played that better than Courtney Cox.
Nope.
Because she like straddles the line of Gail being too much of a bitch, and yet you love this woman. Like, it's like this perfect mixture, and it's just, I really grew to love the character of Gail Weathers, like really high up on my list of characters. I think she's a phenomenal character.
She is, and she's honest. I mean, she's there for the story. She's going to write that book. She's going to, get on 60 Minutes. That's what she wants, and she goes for it, and she's cut throat. If a man was doing that, it would be totally different, because she's, she gets a lot of flack because she's a female doing that. And she's also, though, she's brave. She's not a coward, and she is a good person deep down. Yeah. You just have to dig to find it, but she's a good person.
Yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan. She's almost like the Han Solo character in a way. Like, she's she's really a good person. It's just kind of covered by some other stuff.
Exactly. And the romance between her and Dewey. I mean, Dewey's my favorite character. That's why I have him up behind my head. That's just timeless. I mean, it's just the sweetest thing, most loving thing. Interesting point, though. Dewey was supposed to be killed in Scream 1. If you read like behind the notes, when he got stabbed, that was supposed to be it for him. But because fans loved him so much, they wrote him back in.
Well, because Dewey just like he's really needed in that trio that you grow to like and appreciate. I really do enjoy Dewey's character. At first, you don't take him very serious, but then somehow him and Gail do make this good odd couple, and it works. Yeah, I really do enjoy him as well, and I like Sydney. I mean, I grew to appreciate Sydney and Neve Campbell's portrayal of that character. In fact, she has like the only line that I really appreciate in Scream 5, when I think it's Gail says, "Do you have a gun?" And she's like, "I'm Sidney effing Prescott. Of course I have a gun."
And now if you, I know you know Mike Harlow.
Yes.
We've got into arguments a couple times because I say that both Gail and Sydney are the final girls, but to him, Sydney's like the ultimate final girl, and I would never fight him on that because I love Sydney too. But I think it's kind of a co-final girl situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I do too. Well, and I obviously we'll probably get into spoilers. Now, I will say, I'll go through them. I then watched, we didn't record because I didn't have enough time to get there, but I watched on my own Scream 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Even 3, even though I was like, this isn't near as good as 1 and 2, I still had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Like I really don't think there's like a bad one out of the Wes Craven movies.
There's not a bad Scream. There's really not. And Scream 3 was just a parody within a parody. And I didn't like it the first time I saw it. Had nothing to do with Gail's bangs, though that was part of it.
Those bangs were tough.
Those were awful. Evidently that was David Arquette's idea. He wanted her to look like Greta Garbo, and it just did not play off. But
No.
it's funny. I've come to appreciate it. I appreciate the fact there was only a lone killer. I appreciate that. It was the only one in the entire franchise where there was only one killer, Roman. It was brave enough to go back and just rewrite the beginning. And also the fact that it was produced by the Weinsteins, and the fact that a lot of it was about the abuse of women in Hollywood. I thought that was very brave. Why did they even surprised the Weinsteins even let them do that?
But that's not even surprising to me because a lot of times those people that preach it the loudest are the ones that are doing it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I didn't even realize they were the ones that I think I forgot that they produced that one. It's funny you said that because the first time I watched it, I was like, well, this isn't near as good, but it's okay. The second time I watched Scream 3 when I was showing my niece, and my niece loved them, by the way. She's 15. She loved all the movies. But the second time I watched Scream 3, I enjoyed it more upon the second viewing. Yeah. And you do make a point. I think that's something that's very unique to the Scream franchise that I appreciate. The fact that it's kind of a whodunit. Like you get to guess who's the killer this time. And that kind of adds a fun element to this franchise that other franchises in horror don't really have.
Exactly. And they fly so many red herrings in front of you.
They do.
I was in college when Scream 1 came out, and I was sitting there in the theater the entire time thinking, okay, it's going to be Sydney's dad. And that was my opinion through a lot of the movie. And then there was something that Billy Loomis said. I can't remember the exact moment. No, it's him. But then I was totally shocked that, Stu was in on it with him at the end. It was just total mind.
Yes, I wouldn't have picked that one up either because even say with Billy, like they let you towards the beginning think, is it Billy? It must be Billy, and then they're like, no, it's not Billy. They do a good job. Like it's just
the reason I didn't think it was is because it was too obvious.
Yes,
Dewey caught him there. He had the cell phone. I'm like, okay, it's just too obvious. Can't be Billy. And so I was going with the father, and then later on, I'm like, maybe it is Billy.
Well, and that setup with Billy made me go back and forth with the next boyfriend in Scream 2 so much. Like I kept going back and forth. Like, surely they're not going to do this again.
The same trope.
But have they?
There was like 5 or 6 different scripts for Scream 2 because the ending got leaked on the internet, and Wes Craven was so mad that they were doing rewrites like right before they filmed scenes. There was rewrites. And originally the boyfriend, along with the roommate, Callie, and Mrs. Loomis and Cotton Weary were supposed to be like a foursome of killers.
Oh.
And in the end, they just scrapped it off.
I think the way it ended was fun. Cotton's character I enjoyed in that movie, and I was wondering if it was him throughout most of the movie because he's so abrasive with Sydney at different times.
He wants his 15 minutes of fame. He's a very stereotypical criminal. Okay, he was wrongfully accused, fine. But he was, somebody that started as a criminal and then went on to fame as a result of that crime, which is a huge commentary on our world today. Even back then.
Yes. No, it definitely is. Let's see. And then Scream 4, I thought was a lot of fun too. It gets a little bloodier, but I still thought that was a very fun movie. And then, I don't know, what are your thoughts on Scream 4?
I really enjoyed Scream 4.
I did too.
I saw them all in the theater, except for 5, and I was just I saw it twice. I had to see it twice to really have an opinion on it, but I fell in love with Kirby. I love Hayden
Yes.
Panettiere. Of course, living in Nashville, the show Nashville's near and dear to my heart, and that's where she came from. But she was awesome, and I thought I couldn't. I didn't know who was the killer in that. You know, when it turned out to be her cousin, I was really shocked. I'm like, it's probably
Yeah.
I had the 2 geeky boys picked out, and it turned out to be one of them, but not the other. But when it turned out to be her cousin, I was really shocked.
I really don't think I remember, because again, we didn't record that. I don't think that I guessed the killer in 4. It did surprise me in 4 who the killer was. But yeah, I really enjoyed Kirby. Yeah. In fact, my niece wants to be Kirby for Halloween this year. Like when she dresses up to it's not Scream, Stab, to the Stabathon, and she's just got like a cute outfit with the Scream mask.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then in 5, and we can get into 5. I'd been warned by a fellow screamer, like, just know, you may not like it. But I'm the type, I'm like, oh, well, I don't know if I was in my mind, I was like, I don't know if I'm in this franchise enough that it's going to bother me the way, like, say, Star Wars did, Star Wars fans or stuff like that. But man, can we get into spoiler here? I'm guessing. I mean,
yeah, Scream 5 is at the bottom of the barrel for me. I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite, and I have very distinct reasons why, but I would love to hear your reasons.
Okay, and this is spoilers for any of those of you who have not seen Scream 5 for whatever reason. To me, it literally pulled The Force Awakens from Star Wars, where to me, The Force Awakens, when I went to watch that, the first hour of that movie, it just is fun. Things are happening, it's moving, it feels fun, where you get to meet Han. And they literally, to me, Scream 5 is like a carbon copy of The Force Awakens. Like, you meet Dewey, the Han Solo-esque character who has been divorced by his wife, doesn't have anything left, literally. And then the way he dies was so Han Solo. Like, you knew what it was about to happen. You were like, why is this happening? And that's what bothered me. That's where they lost me. I could have enjoyed that movie, and I was enjoying that movie until that scene. And I was just like, nah, like, you do not kill off a beloved character in this fashion and like let his almost like the blood just drip out. It was just like, no, like, and then when the reveal comes of who the killer is, it was a double. It just made me more angry.
I'm like, there's no way that little 5'3" girl took out Dewey. There's just no way. Was she wearing heels? Because she was obviously 6 feet tall. Come on.
Yes, and just like overpower Dewey. Like, it was just so ridiculous. And again, to me, it was just so The Force Awakens. And what's funny is they even mention Star Wars, like in The Force Awakens. And it's like, but yet you guys did the exact same thing they did, which fans hated. Why did you do this?
Exactly. Now, the creators of the, I know that the Tyler Gillette, who bought the rights to film it from the Craven estate, he was a tried and true fan. I don't think it was done intentionally. But I'm going to go back to The Force Awakens too. First of all, the way they did Han Solo in that was egregious.
Oh, absolutely.
Han Solo I don't care that their son turned to the dark side. He would never have left Leia.
Yes.
Ever. He would never have deserted her. He would not have just been flipping off in the universe, just laying low. And he would never have been so stupid as to confront his son, in that manner and get killed off in such a manner. So they turned him into a family deserting drunk who was stupid enough to walk into his son's lightsaber. That's what turned him into. And the same thing in Scream, Dewey into this broken alcoholic. Dewey would never have left Gail.
Never in 1,000 years do I buy that.
No, he would never have left her, and he certainly would not have gone back to give the killer a double tap. He would have escorted those ladies out of that hospital and still been alive.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes, because like Dewey and like he's a survivor. Like that is what he is. He's been stabbed how many times? He's a survivor. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Like
he gets cut up in every one, you know.
Yes. It would just, and to me, I guess what I thought it was just, and you know, I had a lot of fans because we did react. Our reaction to Scream 5 is available. And I mean, I just couldn't even help it. Even watching it for the first time live, you could just like, I just kept going back to it, like my mouth. I just kept going back to like, but no, like it bothered me so much. I don't know. I just don't think well, this is what some of the people said in the chat. They were like, well, you know, it was time for him to go. I was surprised by how many Scream fans said that, by the way.
Well, it's not so much that they killed him. You can kill a legacy character, but let them go out like their character. Let him go out like a boss. Han Solo, for example, let him go down in the Millennium Falcon in a bomb ass fight, you know, or get blown up trying to take out a whole squad of stormtroopers like Han Solo would have done. But just the way they killed him, it was insulting.
Yep. Yeah, it was. In fact, I don't know if you've ever heard Chris Gore. He's like a real critic, but like a movie critic, but he's not like a Hollywood leftist. So I usually appreciate his takes. He actually pointed out the way they killed Han Solo, which could almost go in Dewey's. He said they killed him the way you kill off a villain. Yeah. Like just let their body fall off into nothing. Like it was that bad.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of the Emperor Palpatine going down in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was like. And but I just, to me, like, and then someone told me, I guess clearly Wes Craven didn't want the 3 main characters to die because he never killed any of them. So that lets me know his feelings on what he wanted with these 3 characters. So that's why I was a no on that. They lost me at Dewey. And the only nice thing I have to say about the 5th movie is I thought the opening scene was genuinely really like good. Like it was a the way they played on new technology and the locks that I get in the house. Like I did think that was scary and like a fun opening scene and a unique take in our day and age.
I like the new final girls. I like the 2 sisters. I think they're great. And I think the fact that, you know, Sam is Billy Loomis's daughter. And I think if they keep exploring her going deeper and deeper into psychosis, I think it's going to be good.
Yes.
I did appreciate that. I like the new Fearsome Four. You know, I think they're great. But you know, obviously Wes Craven had a thing against killing off legacy characters, and they did it. And I mean, it could have been David Arquette wanted to leave, and that was fine. But take Dewey out in a Dewey-worthy death.
Yes. You know? Yes. And they even, oh gosh, I just now thought of this. They even made the critical mistake. And I know it hadn't been near as long as it was with the Star Wars original trio, but Disney made the most outrageous mistake they made. Was they kill off Han before they give us a shot of Han, Luke, and Leia together.
Yeah.
We never got that.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this movie, we don't get the 3, Sidney, Gale, and Dewey together. Like, because Dewey gets killed and then Sidney comes.
Right.
They literally pulled, again, the Star Wars thing. And I will say, in the first, in 5, I thought some of the new characters were over the top. Like, there's something about it's like if you go back to the first one, the high schoolers are ridiculous, but like not in sometimes the way they do high schoolers now, it almost feels like a rated R version of a Disney movie. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't feel as authentic.
Right.
In a way. And so I did love that. I did enjoy Jenna Ortega, I thought was really good. And then I will say, moving into the 6th movie, I did give a good review to the 6th movie. I liked
the 6th movie. It was by far the bloodiest of the Screams. It was all over the place. I've heard people say that, you know, it was the worst part about it was the fact that none of the core 4 died. And I'm like, but I'm glad that they didn't because I like them. And also I think it was just carrying on with Wes Craven. because he didn't
Yes.
let his core characters die.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. Because it was kind of sad, because that's what I was gonna say. I thought they were a bit much in 5, the main ones outside of the 2 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, I really enjoyed Chad and his sister. Like,
Yeah.
I thought they were toned down. They just turned the volume down just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the core 4. Like, I thought it was fun. And even though it's ridiculous that Chad got stabbed 100 times and lived, I enjoyed it. And like you said, I don't feel that's too out of the lane of Scream, because Dewey gets stabbed how many times and lives?
He's stabbed 3 or 4 times every movie. And it's always his scar tissue that saves him. It's like...
Yeah, so I didn't mind it, and I thought the sister dynamic I really enjoyed in this one. I will say, my rating of that movie literally came down in this. I was like this in the theater the first time with the scene with Gail.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if they kill Gail, I'm done. I'm never seeing another one of these movies.
Same way. I had almost, my wife was sitting next to me, and she was just kind of looking at me, because I was over there mumbling under my breath. I mean, I had already accepted the fact that Gail was probably going to die, and I was angry, and I was dealing with it. And then when she didn't, that was great. So I'm glad that they treated her with some respect. That's what they should have done with Dewey. Maybe they're trying to correct that mistake,
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. I just think, and even in the line they say surely they'll let Gail, because Gail kind of becomes like a to the taller sister. I forget her name in it.
Sam.
She kind of becomes like a mother-esque figure to her, and Sam's like so upset at the thought of her possibly dying.
Yeah.
So I like that role for her character. I think that's a good role moving forward in the next movie. And I think the fact that she even said in this, Sidney deserves to have a happy ending, that almost was like a wink, wink. Like, I feel like surely, even if Neve Campbell comes back, and I hope she does for a final of this trilogy, or however many movies they do with the 2 sisters, I just hope surely they don't kill off Gail or Sidney at this point. They can't kill off Sidney, but don't kill off Gail. We love Gail.
Yeah, exactly. And can I comment? Did you notice just how apathetic Gail was to her boyfriend in 6 getting killed? Like, I didn't even bother to learn his name. I mean, it was just, he was okay. Yeah, he wasn't very useful. Just like, what?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, he was. What is the Ghostface is like? Ghostface is literally like, all those muscles didn't do much good. And Gail's just like, yeah. Just like, don't care. It's like, she clearly didn't have too much invested in this person.
Exactly. I mean, he was a gentleman. He was taking care of her. He was bringing her food. He called the cops. He did everything that a guy should do, but she didn't, but yet, in Scream 5, she was having a breakdown outside when she saw them bringing Dewey's body out. So I think that she's probably not over Dewey, and he was just a replacement.
Yes. I definitely think so with that one. For sure. But yeah, I thought 6, because again, Scream 5, my biggest issue is what they did with Dewey. So the fact that they did not continue on and do The Last Jedi and kill off the next legacy character. I was fine with Scream 6. I saw it twice, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I will say that I was listening to, because again, I got really into Scream recently. I was listening to a video that was making these points about Scream and what made it so unique and good and fun. And like, they didn't tie the 2 together, but I will say, I'll tie them together. That this person made the point, because in Ghostface in the original movies with Wes Craven, Ghostface is clumsy. Like, Ghostface might slip, he might get hit and fall over, he might get hit by a door.
Sidney knocked him over several times when he was chasing her the first time he tried to kill her. I mean, she knocked him back down the steps and everything else. Yes,
and they made the point, and it's like, one, that there's a little humor to that, but they actually made a point that I thought was really good. They said that that went, because Ghostface seems more human and
Mhm.
is not flawless, like
Mhm.
the fact that like Michael Myers, you feel it's inevitable. Like, how do you
Yeah.
stop this?
Yeah.
Like, it's a
Yeah.
superhuman creature. How do you stop this?
Exactly. Freddy Krueger,
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees, I mean, they're all undead creatures by the later ones. I mean, they're unstoppable.
Yes, and they made the point that actually making Ghostface a little more human and clumsy
Mhm.
allows more suspense in the scene, because it allows you to think like the character can get away. They've got a
Exactly.
chance. And
Exactly.
it allows you, they said it even allows the audience. It's funny because I literally say this in my review, like what I would do to beat Ghostface. They said it allows the audience to think how they could get out of the situation
Yeah,
if they
exactly.
were in it. So I thought that was a good idea. I will say, as much, in the two newer ones, they've made Ghostface like scarier and more
Mhm.
almost precise. Like Ghostface
Yeah.
is like a precise killer,
Yeah.
which is scary. But then when the reveal comes, you're like, not buying it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, in the original 3, okay, there was motives there, of course, but
yes,
they would also just randomly kill people that had nothing to do with their motives, like, when they killed Principal Embry in the
yes,
first one, what did the principal do to deserve to get knifed up? You know?
nothing.
Nothing, he was just there, and they took him out. Even though there was motive, they would still take out all these incidental characters, and in 5, when Jill killed her own mother, stabbed her own mother through the door, I'm like, "What did your mom do to you?" Come on.
That was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yes, I just think the new one, like, I kinda miss clumsy Ghostface because
Uh,
it makes it more believable when it's just some random dude or woman.
yeah,
You're like, "Oh, okay. It makes sense why they were like a hired assassin."
exactly. Exactly. Now, I have heard some reviewers, and I've actually been on a panel with some that said that they would wonder how it would change if Ghostface was a killer, and they were kind of, like, looking forward to that in the 6 because one of them had pegged the cop, Delmont
Mm.
Mulrooney, from the beginning that he was gonna be the killer, and I'm like, "He's a cop, we were expecting him to know how to kill, know how to maneuver," and he was just as clumsy and awkward as any other Ghostface, but, they're like, "We wonder how it would change the game if Ghostface turned out to be, like, retired military or, something like that, how much that would change the
Yes.
game."
Yeah, no, that would make sense at that point.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanna see, because I think personally, because I was thinking, where do they go? Because I feel like even with these new sisters, maybe do a final movie, like
Mhm.
give them a trilogy,
Yeah.
possibly close out this one, and in my opinion, bring Sydney back. And I was like, but how do you bring Sydney back? And I think the most logical answer of how you easily bring Sydney back into this and make it connect to them
Mhm.
is give the fans what they want and let Stewie be the villain in the final movie.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
where I am, because Wes Craven set it up as a possibility because he makes a cameo technically in 2,
Yep.
uh, and
And in
had
5, he does some voice work in 5.
does he?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that, and I just think because then, I was talking with this guy who's a Scream fan. I was like, it makes sense for Stewie to come back for fans and to bring Sydney back into the fold. I was like, but what would be the motivation for these girls? And he was like, Billy always got the notoriety. Like he's
Mhm.
tired of Billy getting all the fame, so he goes after his daughter. And it was like, yeah, like it's actually kind of on the nose. It's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, can I give you how I would make that happen
Yeah.
for in Scream 7? If if I had, free range, this is what I would do. I would have Sam finally snap and give in to her Billy Loomis psychosis and become a killer, because he's kinda coaching that, the ghost of
Yes.
Billy's kinda coaching that. She reaches out to Stu in prison, and, he's about to get paroled or he escapes or something, teams up with him. She is so incensed that she was brought into this because of Sidney Prescott that she goes after Sidney's kids that she has with Mark, the detective from Patrick Dempsey's character from 3. That brings Sidney back into it. Of course, Gail's gonna go back in. It could even bring Kirby back in since Kirby's FBI, and that could be how you bring them back in. And then you have little sister have a final face-off with her sister to try to stop it.
That would be a pretty good story.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty solid, actually.
That would be my, but they'll never do that.
No, and I'll tell you why, because they're not going to make the girl go crazy. They're just not in today's time.
Yeah.
They won't do it. That's just how Hollywood is today. Yeah. Do you know someone, or it was the same guy I was talking to, he made a good point. No, it wasn't him. I was listening to Chris Score's review, and someone made a good point that in 5, that let's see. Yeah, the only people that get killed off are white people. And his point was they could have made a meta joke about it, like because of the era and the time we live in, that only white people die. But they did miss like an opportunity to almost like make fun of themselves, and almost to make fun of kind of that woke ideology that gets put into movies.
I did not find Scream 6 woke. I was afraid.
No, Scream 6 was not. He's talking about 5.
Yeah, 5. But I was afraid. No, I was just saying I was afraid Scream 6 was going to, because when I saw Chad's sister's hair, I'm like, oh God, they're making her into some gender fluid, something, because she had that gorgeous long hair in Scream 5. Yeah. But then she was like all red pilled. She was like, the roommate was says, well, I'm sex positive. And she says, yeah, right, you're a slut. She was very crass and almost red pilled. And that's the reason I love her character so much.
Yeah, no, I did not find, I agree. I did not find, and I really didn't find 5 woke. He was just making the point that they could have like made like the way Scream does make fun of, those tropes and things. Yes. In modern movies. But yeah, I didn't find Scream 6 woke at all, really. It
wasn't. It was just a good horror flick. It was bloody. I mean, okay, yeah, there's a lot of criticisms about how Chad survived 20 stab wounds.
Like, we don't care.
But we don't care, but he survived. Maybe they were just all flesh wounds, barely cut him. It's okay. Plus, I love him. He's the actor's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. And
is it really?
Yeah, that's the reason I love him so much.
I didn't know that. Yeah, no, by the end of this movie, again, I'd really grown to appreciate the Fab Four. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought there were some excellent, like the subway scene, I thought had such amazing, like, anticipation being built up.
Right. And the way they brought old characters back, in a way, like Richie, the killer from 5, one of the killers from 5, he was in it via video. Yeah. They had the Dewey's voice, coming in over the recording. They had Dewey's theme that played when you had the picture of Dewey. So they essentially were bringing back all these people. And why not bring back some of the past characters? Why not have Randy come in another video, video clip or a video message? He did it in 3. He came back with the videotape telling them how to survive a trilogy. Bring Stu back. Even if you don't bring Stu back in the flesh, bring him back in a video clip. There's a way to bring all these characters back one more time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I personally would just bring Stu back. Like, just let him be the villain. I know that guy's already said he would be down for it. And why not?
Matthew Lillard was actually hired for Scream 2 or 3. That was going to be the plot that Stu was.
Yes, I think it was 3. I think they planted the idea in 2, and I think maybe it was 3. He was actually going to come back,
and then they changed their mind because all the script rewrites. And he said he got paid to do nothing. He was already paid, and then he did nothing.
Well, I think it's time to give him a call personally.
Yeah, and I love Matthew Lillard. His over the top performance in Scream 1 was one of the best things about that. And Parker Posey in Scream 3.
Yes.
Playing Jennifer. She was awesome. I love Parker Posey in anything, but she was really, really good in that.
Oh, just the two gals together, basically. That again, on second viewing, I really enjoyed Scream 3. I thought it was quite a bit of fun.
Oh, yeah. And Carrie Fisher, just laughing on herself, saying she slept with George Lucas. I'm like, we don't deserve Carrie Fisher.
Like, only Carrie Fisher would say that about her. Let that be said about herself in a movie.
And say it herself.
And wasn't she supposed to be like Carrie Fisher's like twin or something?
Like her doppelganger. She said, yeah, I was up for Princess Leia. But guess who gets it? The one that slept with George Lucas. I'm just like, geez, Louise.
That's such Carrie Fisher.
I love Carrie Fisher.
she was fun.
How do you feel about how they killed her off in The Last Jedi?
You mean, and that would be The Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker, sorry.
I
mean, I know they really couldn't because, the actress had passed away, but I think they probably did the best they could with that.
Yes, that one bothered me the least. It was sad because there was a genuine sadness that we had lost Carrie Fisher with it.
Right.
Because I realized that as a Star Wars fan, it's like when Princess Leia's theme plays, like it's the one that gets me the most in my feels.
Exactly.
But so I thought they did the best they could, but they had already screwed up by killing the other two.
Exactly. And they took Luke out like a bee too. I mean, that was not Luke Skywalker. Again, they made him turn tail and run and desert everybody and go off and be this hermit who's milking, lizards to drink blue milk. And Luke Skywalker would never have done that. Just like Han Solo would never have deserted Princess Leia. They turned them into like just bad people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did. And that's why the movies are a disaster. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the sequels at this point in life.
And Snoke's, what was up with that? We built up to Snoke's being like the reincarnation of Palpatine, and then he just died just like a villain, just took him out right away. And I'm like, what was that all about?
I don't think anyone knew, including Rian Johnson, what that was about. Because he's like, how can I make this movie the most difficult thing to follow for the next person? Like, that's kind of what that felt like.
Right. It's like Snoke, it was building up. I thought he was going to be the reincarnation of Palpatine. And boom, dead. I'm like, well, I guess he's not Palpatine. No. And then to have Rey be Palpatine's granddaughter, I'm like, I was all building up for her to be like Han and Leia's or Luke's or
I thought she was Han and Leia's, and I'm pretty sure J.J. Abrams has admitted that's who he thought she was, like in the first one.
Right.
That's who he was hinting at, because that's what I got from it. And that goes from back to like legend material. Han and Leia having, in that case, twins, but at least, kind of copying a daughter and son type thing. I thought that made the most sense, but, Kathleen Kennedy doesn't seem to do things that make the most sense.
Yeah. And then the whole, Poe and they just wasted those characters. I was, I can't remember his name right now, but the African-American former stormtrooper.
Yes.
Can't think of his name.
Finn.
They wasted Finn.
Absolutely.
I was all for Finn being like Mace Windu's son or Mace Windu's grandson or something. I really thought he was going to be like a force person too. And they just killed it. It was just like nothing. He was just nothing in the last movie. I'm
like kind of going back to how Scream did things, like how, there's two killers, one killer. In this latest one, we have three killers. Like, Disney was so unoriginal. You couldn't have like two force sensitive people in the new series. Like, it just had to be one, just like the other two trilogies. Yeah. Why not? Why not make Finn force sensitive and go with that?
Yeah. Well, the whole fact that they just let it be known that anybody can be a force wielder, anybody can be force sensitive. I'm like, no, it is passed through family line. That is well established. Not everybody can be force sensitive.
Yes.
I'm all for elitism when it's done right.
Yeah. I don't know what Disney was doing with that. That's again, I'm not the biggest fan of those. That's why I was glad that Scream did not continue the path of the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Exactly. Now the Scream TV show that had one season, it's not in any way connected to the Scream movies. I don't know if you were going to maybe check that out. I mean, the Ghost Mask makes a appearance, but it's not anywhere connected to the movies, just so you know. Okay. So they kind of did. They just did it with the TV show.
Gotcha. Did you like the TV show?
I did. It was kind of like there was a TV show back in the 80s and 90s called Friday the 13th. Absolutely no connections, and I went into it thinking it had a connection with the movies, but it didn't. And at first I was mad, and then I was like, no, this is really good. So it's kind of like that.
Okay. Okay. I might have to check it out.
Cool. Yeah, do it's a different take. It's they're individual little episodes, kind of like X-Files standalone episodes. It's good.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. And you're going to have to check out Stranger Things.
I will. Absolutely will. But
because I think
we
you'll
go,
love it.
I will. Now, my wife did watch the first season and she enjoyed it, but she didn't want to watch. We didn't want to be watching two different TV shows, so I think we switched to Walking Dead or something, and we finished The Walking Dead, and we never went back to it. But I need to get into that.
Well, then you can watch the first season by yourself, or she can rewatch it, and then you can watch the rest together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, before we go, let me get your countdown of the Scream movies from worst to your favorite. Just name them off.
Worst is going to be it's going to be 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the hard thing. I'm going to have to put movies certain places, but I think the rest of the movies are genuinely good movies.
Right.
So it's not like I really dislike any of these. I'd have to go at this point, because I've rewatched 3 and stuff over. I'm going to have to go 5, 6, maybe 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And 4 and 3 can kind of alternate for me, but 3 is it is kind of a comedy, but it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that on my second viewing of it.
I'm the same way. For me, Scream 5 is going to be the worst.
Yeah.
After that, I'm going to, not because I dislike it, but just because it has to go somewhere, I'm going to have to put 4 next, because that, 4, 3, 2 are all on the same level, in my opinion. So it's really not that I think it's right. It's just, it's the one I know the least. So I'm going to put it next. And then I'm going to put 3, 2, number 6 is my second favorite. And then the original is my favorite.
Got you. Yeah, it gets tough to pick, because they're so much, they're just fun movies. Like, this is I keep using that word, but it's a fun franchise that's very unique.
Yep. I'm a little unique in how I rank. Like, for Nightmare on Elm Street, the one that most people consider the worst in the franchise is actually my favorite, and that is Part 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Okay.
Only because it is campy. It's known with us gay folks as the gay one, because there's so much homoeroticism in it. It's a scream king, not a scream queen, and he's obviously gay. And it's the only thing straight about that movie is the credits. And but it's campy, and it knows it's campy, and that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, Wes Craven seemed to have a lot of that's a good word, campy type humor.
Yeah, he did. And in Friday the 13th, my favorite is Jason Goes to Hell. For the same reasons. It's campy, it's awful, but it's just fun.
Do you know, I've never seen any of the Jason movies.
Really?
Yeah,
that's another franchise you should watch. At least watch the first 2.
Okay.
If you see the first 2, you'll get a good understanding of the story. And then Part 3 was my favorite for a long time, just because of they had some well-developed characters there. But they're all good. They're all good. They are what they are. They're just slasher, campy. If you have sex, you're gonna die. That's where a lot of the tropes they talk about in Scream come from. Is Friday the 13th.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but tell everybody where they can find you, and I will put all your links below, and hopefully we'll send some people over your way.
Yes. Well, first I just want to say thank you for having me on. For those of you watching, her and I met on Carrie Smith's celebration of a year being on her channel, being on YouTube for a year. And I was glad you reached out. I've had a fun time talking with you about Scream, which, again, I'm new to this franchise, but I've had a lot of fun with it. So thank you for having me. And for those of you, you guys can find my sister and I at Force of Light Entertainment on YouTube. Also, the Force of Light Entertainment account is mine on Twitter, if you're on Twitter. And we also, Force of Light Entertainment is on Instagram. So follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. But yes, thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Absolutely, I have too, and we'll definitely go over and everybody go over and check out her live reactions to Scream. They're good, and she also does The Mandalorian. So if you're into The Mandalorian, if you're watching season 3, go over and check out her her reactions to
Yeah.
season 3.
If you've been watching that, like people have been, but yeah, if you are one of them.
I like The Mandalorian. I think
I do too.
I think the people that do the Star Wars TV shows do a lot better than the ones that did the sequels.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even this last season of Mandalorian, which is the weakest of the 3, like I'll still take it over the sequels.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I even like the prequels. I enjoyed the prequels.
I do too. I do too. George at least had a good story that was thought out. Like I do appreciate the prequels.
Me too. Well, anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll be back soon with another video. Until next time, keto and crime.